Warning. This video blog or vlog may contain harsh language and opinions that are not necessarily in line with YouTube or its partners or affiliates. YouTube does not openly endorse the content of this vlog. All opinions are expressly those of Ranting Ramsay and do not reflect on the opinions or values of YouTube, its affiliates, or its parent or partner companies.
Greetings, Internet people. Ranting Ramsay here. How are you all doing today? As you can see by the title up there, if you're watching it on the page, or down there if you're watching it on my channel, today we're actually talking about my opinions on Socom4. Yeah, that's a real retard moment there. Oh no, I used the term retard. Anyway. And there's a few different general things I want to address about this game, because as my longtime watchers already know, Socom4 is my favorite first-person or third-person shooter game of pretty much all times. I prefer to play Socom over games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Medal of Honor, any of those games. Socom is what I would prefer to play. It is actually the game that got me into console-based online gaming to begin with. It was actually my wife, who at the time was just my girlfriend, who actually bought me a PS2 and Socom1, the actual microphone bundle pack. And then when we moved in together shortly thereafter, when we got internet service, I started playing Socom1 online and just absolutely fell in love with the gameplay and played all the Socoms after that. So, like I said, as my longtime watchers would know, Socom is the game that I love. It's my favorite of all the shooter games. And one of the reasons that I think it's one of my favorites is because in its earlier iterations, Socom1, Socom2, and Socom3, it was the tactical game of all the different shooter games out there that you could play. It was the tactical one, the one that required more teamwork and stealth and military thinking than any other game took to play. We all know that games like Call of Duty and Halo rely more upon your mastery of the game itself and finding out which weapons work best in what scenarios than any sort of strategy of hiding or waiting for your opportunity to strike. And in those games, hiding is called camping, for crying out loud. So, but in the Socom games, generally, there was camping as well. I'm going to address that point. Socom has always been had campers, so to speak. But in Socom, as long as you advanced to a certain point and then found a place to hide, you weren't camping so much as long as you got your kill and then moved. And then you got another kill and then moved. That wasn't camping, that was being strategic. And that was an element of the game that I really liked. That in an 8v8 game, you could strategically communicate with your teammates and decide exactly which point of the map you wanted to create a choke point, what parts you wanted to defend, what parts you wanted to attack. It was a very tactical game, which I've always felt seems relatively absent in games like Call of Duty or Halo, unless you have an entire team of people who are willing to engage the game in that way. It does happen, I'm acknowledging that, but I'm just saying that that's not the general average. And so, moving on to what I actually promised you I'm talking about, Socom4 is my opinions and thoughts on this game. It's really, there's a lot of things to address, really. The number one flaw in the game that I know of, that everyone is bitching and whining, complaining about justifiably, is that even though they have clan support, there's no real group support. There's no way to group up with all your friends in one lobby, one group where you all can communicate and launch into a game. One person has to find a game and then hope that there's enough room for everyone to follow, and then it's only kind of random that you'll wind up being on the same team, because if the lobby is full and there's no way to have any time to ask anyone, hey, can you back out so we can switch teams real quick, like in previous Socoms, because of lobbies, It was a lobby-based multiplayer experience instead of a quick match experience. In the lobbies, you had the time and the ability to ask people rationally, hey, can you back out for just a second so we can switch teams and get everybody that needs to be on one side on the right side, and then you can come back in, and there you go. You can't do that with Socom4 because hitherto there is no group support. However, Zipper has promised that that is the next update, and they say it will hit in the summer. Now, I know those of you out there and some of the people that are actually friends of mine that I play games with, their exact statement is, it's been 95 degrees, it's already summer. No, sorry, it's technically not summer yet. I want to say it's like June 22nd or June 27th, one of those two dates, something like that, is the actual summer solstice, or equinox, whichever one, I can't remember off the top of my head, which marks the beginning of summer. Zipper has promised that after the beginning of summer, they will release patch 1.04, which will fix the group system, which I believe the information that I've heard says that it's going to bring back old school Socom lobbies. And if they don't do that, then they're going to institute a group system a la Call of Duty, which whatever flaws or problems you may have with Call of Duty, you have to admit that its group system and group launching is one of the nicer ones out there, that everyone can group up together and then launch into a game. Sometimes, yes, it fails and you wind up getting separated. You'll have to back out and try again. But on the general average, it works pretty well. So Zipper and Sony have promised that a group system improvement will be the next part of the next patch, and why I have faith that they're going to release this in the time frame that they say they will is because they also, when they announced the whole 1.04 patch, they also announced the 1.03 patch, which came out exactly as they promised, which fixed a few other flaws in the game, such as there was a few overpowered weapons that they fixed, and then the camera clipping, which was one of the biggest issues with the game. They have fixed the camera clipping. So I'm fairly optimistic that they're going to fix Socom4 in the ways that they promise they are going to, because so far they have delivered on their promises. But it leads me to another point that I want to address. It's not necessarily about just Socom4. It's a point I've heard other people bring up about other games before. In that the people I was hoping to play this game with, the clan, the friends, the group of people whom I had previously been involved with in MAG, and then we talked about Socom4. We were like, yes, Socom4 is coming out. We're all going to get this game. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. The majority of them were completely and totally displeased with how the game came out. And that leads me to a couple, maybe a trio of points that I want to address, in that one of the verbatim statements that was made to me, via text in a forum, was that he was getting tired of paying for incomplete games, and that's a viewpoint I've heard pop up a lot. They're like, oh, the game's not complete until they patch it, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. That's a facepalm worthy statement in my opinion, because the gaming community is the only source of this sentiment, in that, in my opinion, a game is actually complete when it's released. It is, due to the demand of the gaming public that games not take quite as long to release as they used to. I mean, I remember way back in the day playing, the original Nintendo Entertainment System. You would wait anywhere between 2 and 3, 4 years for a sequel to a game sometimes, And now we get sequels to a game anywhere between 12 to 18 months after the game has come out. And I think gamers need to realize that that rush type of schedule means that there are going to be minor flaws and other things that the gaming designers fail to catch, because there's this demand that the game be out now. So that's one aspect that I think the gaming community itself needs to kind of relax a little bit upon, because they're not releasing an incomplete game. They're releasing a game that was demanded as quickly as possible, and that's kind of the bottom line. But then there's another aspect that comes to mind in that in the whole realm of the incomplete game argument is a lot of the times when a beloved series is changed or altered in some way, the gameplay is changed, that people make this outcry that, oh, they rushed the game, they need to patch it back to the way it used to be, and blah, blah, blah. I see this as a lose-lose scenario for the gaming developers because, as we have seen in the past with various gaming legacies, when it comes to titles, that when the gaming company changes it radically to make it fresh, the hardcore fans, the original fans say, no, you fucked up the game, make it the way it was. When they don't change it enough, they keep riding on the impetus that the game itself has, and they just don't change the mechanics much or add anything new, the people say that the game is getting stale and they're just milking us for money, releasing the same game over and over again. So how do you not see that as a lose-lose situation for the game developers? Maybe I'm just a little more forgiving than most gamers in that regard. But the changes they made to the Socom4 gameplay as it pertained to previous Socoms, in my opinion, was an attempt to make it fresh, and obviously was not received well by the hardcore Socom gaming community. That doesn't mean they released an incomplete game. That means they released a game in which the changes were not well received. So in my personal opinion, all those people crying about Socom4 being an incomplete game and they paid $60 for something that's only half done is a bunch of fucking uneducated, illogical, insipid bullshit. It's just whine, whine, complain, complain, in my personal opinion, and that's all. They make no allowance for them trying to grow the series at all. They seem to think they're entitled to Socom 2, and there's this core of Socom gamers who think Socom 2 was the pinnacle of Socom, and every game released then after should have just been some variation of Socom 2. In my opinion, I think that's an asinine, you knew it was coming eventually, an asinine fucking opinion, and I just can't abide by it. So there you go, there you have it. There are my rough thoughts on Socom4, and the short and skinny, the summation of the points is, I like the game. I enjoy playing it, and I'm looking forward to them instituting a group or lobby system. I think it'll make it a lot easier to have really hard-fought strategic battles, which is what Socom is all about to begin with. So there you go, there you have it. I'm RantingRamsay. That is all.
Hey, did you get all that, man?
Douche.